Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Might be misty and the nights might still be dark, but we can still heat things up and make things brighter in this winter off-season of motorsport, because as it's starting to wake up around the world, it also means that the eSports scene never stops. And it doesn't stop here for BRSCC as we move on to Donington Park's national circuit for rounds 4, 5 and 6 of the 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter eSports Series. We kicked off at Snetterton 2 weeks ago. It might be murky out there, but certainly it will get things a lot more clearer and a lot more energetic in just a few moments' time once qualifying is complete and we get into the first of our 3 races here this evening. Well, good evening everybody. Scott Woodward is back on the microphone once again. Aidan Howard once again on the production desk giving you the live stream. And again, thank you to Clapham North for their support and for Apex Racing TV for helping us. We are broadcast partners for the series once again. So, 3 very energetic and entertaining races in Norfolk last time out, and what that did, well, is one thing pretty clear, it's given us, I think, our most competitive eSports series to date so far, because look at the top 8 positions covered by 8 points. There is a tie at the top between Harrison Leach and Trafford King, and Matt Kendall is only 1 point behind. 1 point separates the top 3, 8 points separates the top 8. Harrison Leach and Trafford King share the lead, with Matt Kendall in 3rd, Tom Griffiths in 4th, and Isaac Doble, the Fiesta Junior champion, in 5th. Then it's Thomas Merritt, Jeff Richardson, Jack Ashton, who's the Metro Cup champion, and that's the top 8 drivers, with a bit of a gap between James White and Benji Douglas, who are also tied on points, as they hold 9th place in the standings as well. The field tonight is a little bit, I was about to say reduced. I don't think it is. It's a little bit sort of where we are in terms of how many cars we've got. Right, we've got 36 tonight, which is another really healthy entry, and it just shows that even if we are going to 2-week gaps, that the field is still pretty keen to get going. So, with the championship standings how they are and how competitive it really is, it means that Donington could produce some different front runners compared to Snetterton. It's a circuit, of course, that has a lot of natural elevation changes. It is one of the oldest circuits in the UK, and of course, people who know the history know that this circuit goes back to the pre-war days when you had Grand Prix taking place here. The likes of Auto Union and Mercedes were battling it out all the way through the parklands here. There were some legendary names that raced these cars, of course. And Donington Park has been a staple of British motorsport for so long. And it always tends to be, in my opinion, a circuit that never produces a bad race. No matter how many cars what form, whether it's real or esports, what category of motorsport, you're always almost near guaranteed a healthy or a good solid race at Donington Park, and I anticipate we will get just the same here tonight, particularly with this incredibly competitive field competing here. 36 cars, lots of BRSCC alumni drivers who either currently race or will race in the future or are associated with BRSCC, all taking up the virtual steering wheel back behind the wheel of the car, which is very much akin to what BRSCC is known for in many senses amongst its large roster of championships and series. That is Mazda MX-5s. Use the Mazda MX-5 Cup Global Cup car for all but one series that we've done for the Winter Esports Series. The only time we didn't do was last year when we did the temporary switch to the new BMW CS racing machine. Bit different, but everyone's gone back to the tried and trusted Mazdas, and they always produce great racing, as they tend to do. And these cars in real world, of course, if you want to tune in and see what the real world drivers in these cars will do for these Mazda current spec cars, they're actually racing, of course, as part of the support package for the Daytona 24 Hours this weekend as well. So do check them out. I think it's today they might have been racing, if not just qualifying, and there should be some racing tomorrow you can go and check out as well. The qualifying then with about 3.5 minutes to go, and even before racing they're starting to collide with each other. One of the Owen Mills racing cars coming to grief in the background, but we'll leave that in the back. We've got Leah Richardson, who is fastest in the session right now with a pole time to only put them 27 thousandths of a second on top of the times and on pole position ahead of Harrison Leach, with Trafford King alongside. To the two joint leaders in the championship, currently at the moment are second and third in the grid, followed by Tom Griffiths in fourth position and Matt Kendall in fifth. I believe, if I remember correctly, he did win a race before last time. Isaac Doble sixth, and then we have the number 11 of Arish Mandu. And then in eighth position, a name that politely I wasn't expecting to be up as high as this, but I'm glad he is, Marcus Hesketh, who is of course one of the staff members for BRSCC. He's been putting some practice in between Snetterton and Donington Park. He ran mid-pack last time in Norfolk. Now here at Donington, he is putting the effort in, and in his rather slickly liveried machine, which has got, look at what it is, in fact, actually. There's all sorts going on in that car. I think there's images of just about loads of different BRCC people. I looked at it, and there's a hot dog on there as well. All sorts going on. He's extending track limits quite a bit. Just lucky that some clerks, of course, are not watching, hint, hint, from real life, that we criticised in that, and I'm sure we'll be ribbing him later on. But he's currently 8th fastest, so in the top 10, only 3/10 off pole position. And if you look at the spread of times we've got in the field so far, the top 24 is, in fact, let's call it top 25, covered by a fraction over a second. That ain't competitive. I don't know what your definition of that is, because that is such a strong spread of the field, and the top 12 are covered by less than half a second, P12 being Will Blackwell Chambers, who is the last year's Mazda MX-5 Super Cup Pro Class champion, a two-time champion in that category. He's now moving forwards into the Fun Cup with Rob Boston Racing, a two-car effort for them. Tom Griffiths there getting sideways. He's got plenty of experience both in these cars in Mazda MX-5s and in BMW Compact Cup in the previous times. And Griffiths comes across the line and stays in P6. Isaac Doble in his more recent laps has gone to third fastest, so he's now up there too. He's split what was Trafford King, and also Matt Kendall's gone up to fourth anyway. Trafford King's now down to fifth, and Harrison Leach is sixth, so Leah Richardson's still in there. But you've now got the top 5 cars covered by less than 1/10 of a second. The lap time's getting closer and closer, and certainly giving us an idea of what to expect over the course of the 3 races coming up. Reminder of the format, which is the grid is set by the times here in race 1. Race 2 is set by the results of race number 1. So where you finish puts you exactly where you are on the grid for the second race. And then the top 10 is reversed for race 3. So if you finish 10th, quite simply, you'll start in pole position from race 2, and then vice versa. If you win race 2, you go back to row 5. Got it all to do again. And typically, what we see from these reverse grid races, both in real world and in the sim, tend to be the most action-packed, whether the action is cars coming together or lots of side-by-side close racing, and there are elements of both. And you can even see, I think some drivers are finding keeping on the road a bit more trickier than staying on it. As you can see, some cars are exiting stage right from the screen. So trying to get it out of the way now with 30 seconds to go, and all the practice they've done beforehand, rather than doing it when the race begins. Just looking and see if we've got anyone who happens to be on any better laps so far. Sectors. Chris Etheridge, who is currently 10th fastest, has done a personal best in Sector 2, but nobody else is really improving. So it looks as though, unless someone's got a last bingo effort to put in and really jump up the order, I can't see that order changing too much. A couple of drivers are a bit further back than I'd anticipate to be. A couple include Jack Ashton, who is 8th in the points and just outside the top 10, and he'll be on the 6th row, it seems, with Rob Blackwell Chambers. The grid is now forming. The qualifying has now completed, and we're set for the first of our 3 20-minute race, 15-minute races for the second event of the 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter Esports Series. And here's how they'll line up. Leo Richardson on pole position, the Irishman, but only 27,000 of a second faster than Harrison Leach on the front row of the grid for Owen Mills Racing. Then comes Isaac Doble for Doble Motorsport, the Fiesta Junior champion from last year, and Matt Kendall, who was a race victor at Stetterton last time, and so therefore he will be starting fourth. Trafford King starts in P5 alongside Tom Griffiths in the Series 1 racing machine. Then Arish Mandu, and in the dizzying heights at 8th for Hesketh Racing, Marcus Hesketh, so he can do BRSCC proud and do a good job to keep it there. Tom Merritt and Chris Etheridge round out the top 10 from Jack Ashton, Metro Cup champion and MX5 Super Cup Pro Class champion, Will Blackwell Chambers. Going back to row 7, we find Benji Douglas and Tom Monhemius from Dan Parron Smith and Thomas Potter. Then James Seal and Mitch Marie from Max Haller and James White rounding out the top 20. Liam Martin Bradley for Bromley Motorsport, and in Tempo.UK's Toby Campbell come next in 22nd place. Ben Williams and Rob McGregor on row 12. From row 13 backwards, it's Alex Catlow and James Roberts, the photographer, Jack Santa, Lewis Turkington, Fiesta Junior alumni, Aaron Beattie and Alex Corkwell, Adam Lyle and Paul Dunningham, Jamie Peters Ellis, the Fun Cup reporter, Aidan Ingram, Andrew Payne and Martin Corkwell, and they round out the 36 starters that we'll have for our first of 3 events. Another very, very healthy field. Big grids here for this event, and it's getting more and more popular as the seasons have gone on. Waiting for the lights to come on and waiting for the race to get underway very shortly. A couple of cars haven't put themselves into position yet. They will do very shortly. Once the red lights come on, watch for them on the right-hand side of the screen. Very misty, very murky. It's all going to be calm and quiet until the red lights come on. When they go out, it'll be a sprint down towards Redgate Corner. Redgate is usually quite a pinch point on the first lap, but I've also watched them down into the Robert Chicane on the end of lap number 1, because everyone trying to pile their way through. 36 Mazda MX-5s trying to make space in that section. It's going to be a real tricky position. Scaring me is we've got one more car that's taken their time to sort their setup out, ready to go. All gridded, and with the 5 red lights coming on, we're set for our second Winter Esports Series event for BRSCC of 2026. 5 red lights, and round 4 of the championship is underway. Green flag in the air. Clean start from pole position. Richardson takes the lead and should take the whole shot. Leach is slotted behind him to second place. Now darts out to have a look towards Redgate Corner for the first time at the outside line. It is 3rd for Doble and 4th for Kendall as they go through. Merritt's showing his nose up the inside for second place. And there's contact in the back. I said it was going to be a pinch point, and there are cars getting involved. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh dear. Didn't take long, did it? Redgate, unfortunately, has claimed several cars in the mix. Might not be anybody's fault, but we'll carry on. There'll be a hole in the field, but the leaders are already through Old Hairpin for the first time. Just in leads, Leach in second place, Doble up to 3rd, Kendall 4th, and it's King, Griffiths, Hesketh staying in P7, and that is now the top 8 cars altogether, covered by 2 seconds, because Thomas Merritt, who was quite high up, has dropped back down to 8th. Up through McLean's for the first time, through the mist, through the murkiness of Donington Park in this first race. A couple of cars being run out wide. Will Blackwell Chambers, I think, was one. He was going side by side with Dan Parron Smith over 12th position. That's a Coppice. Now down the exhibition straight, and we'll see how they're going to play out here. This is Doble now trying to go on the attack of Leach, but he's having to go defensive on the inside line to fend off Matt Kendall, who race winner already this season. Here's the other big pinch point. They rock over the curbs with the Robert Chicane for the first time. Nice and tidy for the first few cars in the leading group. Using the curb on the exit and across the line to end lap number 1. It's only half a second advantage that Richardson has as Doble goes on the attack and thinks about making a move in towards Redgate. Slips to the inside, shows Leach the nose on the inside line, but Harrison toughs it out around the outside. He's not interested in giving it up that easy. Squeezes them to the edge of the road as they go through Hollywood, down through the Craner curves for the second time. The brave man, if you can go side by side through Craners, and they're both trying it, but Doble now has made it pay off. He's got track position for the right hand at the Old Hairpin. There's a little tussle as he elbows Leach out wide. This now gives Kendall the permission to get through, and Trafford King, and also puts Tom Griffith's tail up as well. So from second place, he's dropping back to about 6th. Side by side towards McLean's, and you can see there that's Kendall trying to get through on second place. All this is allowing Richardson to sail off up the road by 1.3 seconds. They are tussling like it's the last lap of the race for second position. Through Coppice they go, nose to tail, 6 of them together for second. Kendall, Doble, King, Griffiths, Leach and Merritt. There's a yellow flag, I think a slowdown penalty for Marcus Hesketh. So he is now just quickly serving that, and then he's going to drop back down to, I think, the base of the top 10. Richardson, with full advantage of that scrapping on the second lap, to extend that lead, and this now gives Kendall a task to try and reel him back in. You just see, it's not quite Gorillas in the mist, it's Mazdas in the mist, and Hesketh still has that slowdown penalty to try and get rid of if he can. He is sort of backing off to try and get rid of it. Now slipping down to, what, 15th position now, and it's into the gaggle of cars which are now a lap behind, having done fast repairs, all emerging from the pit lane. That's another caution for him. Try and get through that unscathed without any drama. Side by side, Harrison Leach is trying to retaliate here. It's almost three of them together, because that was Leach, Griffiths, and I think Merritt was in there as well. Yes, Merritt, who was battling for 5th position. Leach has held off Griffiths for the time being. It's also stacking up Etheridge in the hashtag blessed car, which has the effigy of Lewis Hamilton on the side, akin to what they have on their C1 endurance race car. And you've also got their Jack Ashton, the Metro Cup champion. The inside for position goes Merritt, leans on Griffiths slightly, gives him the space. They've got the chance to get back up the inside for right-hander at Poppy. You turn in right as you get towards the crest. As the corner goes blind, you trust the apex is there and then work your way through. What did I say? I told you that Donington would give you good racing, and so far in these first 3 laps, it's absolutely proven true. This is one of those circuits where you are guaranteed nearest makes no difference. An excellent race because it's a circuit that is conducive to that. Side by side, Etheridge and Ashton get together. That was Ashton thumping the curb, Etheridge going wide, and Ashton goes off onto the grass to try and recover. He loses a couple of places. He's now dropped behind, looks like Potter and Monhemius, and also going through has gone Parron Smith and Blackwall Chambers, so a few more positions lost. There's another car exiting pit lane having done a fast repair. 3 abreast for position in towards Redgate Corner. That was Benji Douglas, Will Blackwall Chambers and Tom Monhemius, so they all survived it somehow. So frantic racing going on here. Blackwall Chambers, of course, using all of his Mazda expertise from real life to try and keep himself in position and move up through the order. Trying to go round the outside of Benji Douglas, sweeps across the nose of the Fiesta Junior racer. That's him into the top 10 firmly, into 9th place. There's Monhemius right on the rear bumper of Douglas. And just behind, that's Thomas Potter with Chris Etheridge to his outside towards Schwanzkirch. The inside for the right-hander at McLean's. All sorts going on here. You don't really know where to look because there's so many battles going on. And lots of drivers are looking at lap times, are all lapping in the 117 range. So it's incredibly competitive and close field. It's fine margins that you find here in these equally matched Mazda MX-5 Global Cup cars are just producing the kind of racing that just makes you come back for more, both you and also as a driver on top of it. Look at a replay of what happened. This is the 3-wide. This is the start of what happened. They're down towards turn 1. Richardson defends. This was Leach going to the outside of the pits. That was Adu that went round in the Mazda 7 SMB livery. One car goes straight into the side of him and another. 2 cars in the middle of the road and just 2 more had nowhere to go, riding over the top. Fortunately, it looked like it was one car simply just lost it by itself, and that caused the chain reaction. And Madu and a few others having to use their fast repair to get back to the pits. They're way out of contention, but they can still get through and try and score some points. Use it as a bit of a damage limitation exercise. Side by side, this is Tom Monhemius battling away with Chris Etheridge. Etheridge has the inside line, just clips over the curb on the inside. Monhemius runs wide, he keeps his foot in. His Etheridge to try and leverage himself back through. If he's brave enough, he'll have a look down the inside into McLean's. At the track position, Monhemius gives him the space. And the C1 racer and Supersport Endurance racer is into position, up into the 11th spot. Group of cars falling behind them. You've got Tom Monhemius, Jack Ashton, Thomas Potter, and a recovering Marcus Hesketh, who is settling into the middle of the top 20. On the back of Thomas Potter to try and grab 14th place, but his pace, as we saw in qualifying, means that he can go and does go higher. He was as high as 7th at one point in this race in the early stages, or the slowdown penalty pushed him down the order. Back down the straight, we are coming up towards half distance already. It feels like we've had a race's worth of action in the first few laps, and we're not even half distance yet. That just shows how intense it's been tonight. There's a big dive going up the inside for somebody in front. That was Dan Parra-Smith trying to recover 8th from Will Blackwall Chambers. And he was just about in front, and is that Douglas trying to get back past Blackwall Chambers because Parra-Smith is already in front of him. They're 2 very similarly coloured cars, red and white, or at least red fronts anyway. Towards the old hairpin, Blackwall Chambers doesn't resist too much, just enough to try and hold the inside for the next bit at Starkeys. Little door-to-door contact, a little love kiss by saying, you might try and come past me, but I've still got the race in line. I'm still the MX-5 Super Cup Pro Class champion for a reason. Try that one on for size. He does hold the outside line. He loses momentum for Douglas, and that puts him under threat from both Etheridge and Ashton, who are right on his rear bumper. Etheridge, in fact, wastes no time. He sweeps around the outside to pick up the place. Douglas stands his ground. Lots of brilliant racing back and forth in this first race already in the second Winter eSports Series event of 2026 for BRSCC, and it's far from over. He just ticked over half distance. Ashton gives Everidge the bump draft, then backs out trying to go side by side with Benji Douglas, skips over the chicane. I don't think I'll give him a slowdown penalty, as we've got one car off the road. That is Etheridge. Etheridge was going side by side, and that was the consequence of him trying to stay level. He's now slipped down to 15th position, so we've got some work to do. And of course, if he stays where he is, wherever he finishes, we'll give him his grid position for race number 2. A bit of no man's land now, trying to recover. Let's look at a replay of how that occurred. Side by side with Etheridge, he was battling with Douglas. Ashton gave him the bump draft into the Robert chicane. Etheridge took his line. It was by himself, so whilst that was happening between Douglas and Ashton, Etheridge lost it on the exit, hit the second of the inside curbs at Robert chicane, bounced onto the grass, and lightly grazed the tyre wall, which has caused the damage to his right front. Carry on. He's got some work to do to try and pick that up. Much more side-by-side action now. This is back towards the head of the field. And Leo Richardson, who had a 1.3 second lead, has now been brought down to almost nothing. Matt Kendall has really closed him down in those few laps using clear air. That's going on for the lead, for third place. Fourth place behind them, I should say. It's 4 of them battling for position. It's now Leach, King, Merritt and Griffiths, nose to tail, through the Robert chicane. The harder these 4 fight each other, the easier it is for the top 3 in front to start making more of a break in their own private battle. Because Isaac Doble has broken away from that quartet, and he's now started to chase after the leading pair. It's now Richardson from Kendall from Doble, the top 3. Then Leach, King, Merritt and Griffiths in their 4-way dance for fourth position. And a little gap back to Aaron Smith, who's running into a very high and impressive 8th place, ahead of Will Blackwell Chambers, then Benji Douglas, who's trying to keep both Potter and Hesketh at bay. There's a slowdown penalty for Alex Catlow back in 20th, but we'll keep our focus on the leaders. But the little yellow square next to a driver means they have a slowdown penalty because they've cut the course or caused an incident which requires it. It means that you back off. You have to kind of give back the time which you perceptively gained, that the sim thinks that you've gained as a result of an unfair advantage, whatever it deems that to be. And because of that, it means that you have some drivers quickly back off and lose it all, or they'll lose it steadily over the course of the time that you're allowed to do so. You get a timer that counts down, so you must give up these seconds in this time period. Now, speaking of slowdown penalties, Trafford King has one now, and that's important because he's in 5th position in that leading group for 4th, so he moves out, tries to back off slightly, and it can be as small as 0.1 of a second. So unless you clear it all, you still have that white yellow square next to your name on the timing screen. Once again, over the curbs, getting catching 2 wheels as they skip right and then left through the Robert chicane and back onto the pit straight. That's Blackwell Chambers' turn to get a slowdown penalty. Just how the system plays it. Meanwhile, his Clapham North teammate is going for the lead and towards Redgate corner, up the inside of Richardson for the lead of the race. Just under 5 minutes to go. He leans on the Irishman here on the exit of the right-hander. Now they make the sprint down the hill through Hollywood and into the Craner curves. Noble's keeping a watching brief. He's keeping close. He's going to keep in the slipstream of Kendall, who sticks to the outside of Richardson. He stands his ground. He gets the inside line. He moves across to try and defend the position. Richardson somehow makes that work and goes round the outside line at the old hairpin and makes it stick. But that stack-up has now given Doble the chance to get up the inside. He gets the push from Harrison Leach, who starts from pole position, front row of the grid. Now it's 4 them towards the right-hander at McLean's. Look through your eyes. It might get a bit spicy here as round the outside looks Kendall. Still side by side for the lead, but Richardson has that track position and will have control of the corner. Into the right-hander at the top of the screen. It is now 7 of them for the lead. Is at the back of the group is Trafford King after that slowdown penalty. 7 for the lead down the back straight here. It's now Kendall now in no man's land because Richardson, Doble and Leach have all got themselves into a tow here. A triple tandem draft down towards the Robert chicane. They turn in. Kendall gets hung out to dry over the curb and into the side of what looked like Thomas Merritt. He gets very sideways, just about gathers it up. Now they've all lost momentum, and that is Kendall, who was as high as 2nd place, now down to 5th. It would have been 6th if he hadn't gone to the side of Thomas Merritt, and Thomas had stayed where he was. That's now put Merritt into a bit of no man's land in 7th. He's got some work to do. He's only got less than 3 minutes to get back towards his leading group. It's slightly broken up a little bit, but you can see that still pretty close together, and you just know with that top 3, if one of them also makes a false move, it can really change things in an instant. Now it's Richardson, Doble and Leach in this leading group because Kendall's dropped back to 5th, behind Tom Griffiths. Trafford King in P6 and Merritt, who's a further 3 seconds back after that mistake, and it was simply just from Kendall and Thomas trying to take the same piece of road in the first part of Robert chicane. They both came together. It was a typical Robert chicane incident. Both of them managed to just about recover and get away with it unscathed. That's a Coppice. down the exhibition straight once again, coming up towards just over 2 minutes left to go in this first race. There's still 2 more to go in this race, which is going to be even more exciting. Comes Doble, thinking about a move, putting Richardson under some big pressure here towards Robert Chicane. He started out to try and force him to the inside line, off the line you want optimally for the chicane. Now the sprint towards Redgate again begins. They're going to get, I think, 2 more laps, because lap time-wise they're doing 1 minute 18s, 1:19. So there's just over 2 minutes to go. Now here comes Doble making his attack down the outside into Redgate corner. Richardson again, not interested in giving it that easy, but we might look for the up and under. It doesn't come off because Richardson has that line covered neatly. Driving smartly here is Leo. He's not just giving this up too easy, as he shouldn't be in the race leader and one of the drivers towards the top of the championship after the opening round. There is more going on further back. This is Douglas and Parent Smith now going side by side behind Will Blackwell Chambers, because Merritt's lost 3 more places as a result of whatever happened when we quickly cut to the aftermath. Wide for Parent Smith. He now loses out to Douglas, and this now puts Merritt and Ashton back into play here to get towards the top 10. Merritt, the damage limitation here, I think. Daring enough to go down the outside. He's a bit fired up here. He might make it stick unless this gives him the room. It's that Parent Smith giving him the room. And these two who have raced in Fiesta Juniors, of course, Merritt did it so the last 2 seasons. Parent Smith did so very briefly, if I'm correct, in a couple of rounds a few years ago when we still had the ST150s. That group now heads its way back down towards the chicane for the second to last time. There's a big gaggle of cars now with Merritt under pressure from Ashton and Thomas Potter. Marcus Hesketh is in there as well in 13th place. He's not too far away from possibly cracking into the top 10 on this last lap. Leaders then down the pit straight towards turn 1. There's a couple more back markers, and there's more lap traffic to try and deal with here on the final lap of the race. And if Doe wants to make this happen, he's going to have to use all of his Fiesta Junior racecraft to try and pick his way past Richardson and find a crack in his defences on this final tour of the national circuit here at Donington Park. It is now 6 of them together for the lead. No guarantee on who wins, no guarantee who's on the podium, but it's going to be settled in a few moments' time. They swing through the old hairpin. There is a lapped car ahead. They run wide over the curb. Noble doesn't get enough momentum to pull alongside Richardson, but he's now under threat from Leach up the hill. Through Starkeys, through Schwantz for the final time. He's practically inside his rear bumper, is Isaac Doble. Looks one way, then the other. Finds his road blocked. He then throws the block on Leach going around the outside for second place. Richardson firmly stands his ground. After lap traffic here, it's going to be very tricky who can get through without too much drama. Through Coppers for the final time. 2 more corners to go. There's a slowdown for Isaac Doble. So that's going to be really crucial. He will have to give that back. They will lose second place if not a spot on the podium because of it. And here they come charging down towards Robert Chicane. Richardson looks high and dry for second place. It's anyone from 5 under brakes in towards the right-hander. First to the right, then to the left. Richardson's away and gone. It's Leach to the second place and Doble, I think, just about got rid of it. Up to the checkered flag they come. And Leo Richardson, in a chaotic and frantic first race of the night at Donington Park, takes the victory by 0.6 of a second. Then Leach, Doble, Griffiths, Kendall and King as close as you like. Top 6 covered by 1.2 seconds in the end. With Will Blackwell Chambers 7th, Benji Douglas 8th, Dan Parent-Smith 9th, and Thomas Merritt rounds out the top 10 after his activities. The rest of the field will come streaming through, but that was energetic to say the very least. Ooh, and breathe. And there's still 2 more of these to go, so that's me after one 15-minute race with this lot. Imagine after the last one later on. The field makes its way back to the checkered flag. Of course, remember, the finishing order of where you cross the line in this race will set the grid for race number 2, which means that the higher you can finish, the better starting spot you have. That means a couple of drivers that didn't have the best of races or even get the races they really desired, even losing out at the end of the first corner, have some redemption, but much further back in the order. So the grid and the result will come up as one, so we'll give you the grid and also the result. So the results of race 1 and the grid for race 2 is as follows. Leo Richardson will go straight into race 2 from pole position with Harrison Leach alongside him on the front row of the grid. Then it's Isaac Doble and Tom Griffiths who pick 3rd and 4th. Matt Kendall and Trafford King from Will Blackwell Chambers and Benji Douglas. And Dan Parent-Smith and Thomas Merritt in the top 10 in race 1 and on the grid for race 2. Then Jack Ashton and Thomas Potter come next in 11th and 12th, followed by the 7th row starters downwards, which we see from 13th place Marcus Hesketh. He's not quite as high as he was in race 1, but if he can keep out of trouble, he could pick his way through pretty quickly. Then it's Monhemius, Etheridge, Seal, Williams, Roberts, who's finished 18th after an impressive run up the order for James, keeping out of trouble. Lewis Turkington and Aidan Ingram in the top 20, followed by Jamie Peters-Ennis, Alex Catlow, Toby Campbell and Paul Dunningham in the top 24. We'll quickly rattle through before race 2 gets underway. Sant, Marie, Martin Bradley, Beattie, Madhu, Payne, McGregor, White, Corkwell, Lyle and Max Haller at the back of the grid. 26th and last, but certainly not least. And perfect timing, red lights are coming up, and just as we completed race 1, we're straight into race number 2. 5 red lights, and Leo Richardson looking for a second win of the evening here at Donington Park as we get the green flag and we are underway once again. Everyone going immediately single file down towards turn 1. They're not comfortable on the racing line, are they? Straight down towards Redgate for the first time. Now they start to fan out for track position. Richardson moves across and holds his line. He will hold the lead in through the first corner. That's for the first time of asking. Richardson does hold it. Leach is right on his rear bumper. Doble, Griffiths, Kendall and King have stayed pretty much as they were in grid order through the Craner curves. We're a little tidier through lap 1, turn 1 this time by. That's much better from our field at this point. Now through Old Hairpin for the first time. Everyone choosing to be single file this time. Not too many side-by-side moments. A little bit further back, they're 2 and 3 wide. The Ridge already has a slowdown penalty, so he's hardly started the race and already getting a slap on the wrist for something. And so has Marcus Hesketh. He's got one, and so has Toby Campbell. So a few drivers going a little too wide and taking some liberties, but there's still a long way to go in this race. The leaders then already out of McLean's in towards Coppers. There's some battling at the base of the top 10 going on. There's carnage further back. Several cars have been involved in that one. I'm trying to work out exactly who. 35 is involved in that. 26 is involved in that one. This is Jamie Peters-Ennis. A couple of others have been involved in that too. So, what I say about keeping lap 1 clean? Not quite this time. They got further than Redgate Corner this time, but they lasted as far as McLean's before they started to come to blows. End of lap 1. There is the leading group, and one car's losing it in the background as well. I think it might be Tom Wanhemius. It is. Tom Wanhemius losing it from PD, I think it was, but we'll keep on with the leaders in this beginning of lap number 2. Richardson keeping steady, bumping over the curb as they exit Redgate for the second time. Richardson looks a tiny bit more comfortable in this early part of the race. Only lap number 2, but he's trying to extend the gap as he heads through Craner curves. And again, down through the gears, and just swings the car through the Old Hairpin, carries lots of momentum. There's a circuit where the big braking stop you've really got is down at Robert Chicane and technically at the corner, because you can take it at quite a speed. A lot of these corners here are very much fast and flowing. They're long corners. They do allow, it takes rhythm, smoothness, flow, momentum. It's great. Now, this is replay what happened to Marcus Hesketh, we're being told. This is him battling with Chris Etheridge, and it looks like Thomas Potter. In for the chicane, they all stacked up because it was Potter. No, it was Thomas Merritt getting a little bit sideways and losing momentum. He went to the back of Etheridge. Marcus tried to escape that, and because of that got caught up in the car behind him. He's also got damage, and he's now back down in 22nd place with a lot of work to do and a slightly crumpled front end on that Mazda MX-5 Global Cup car. Leaders then across the line for lap number 3. And what's impressive is that the top 5 all set at 1 minute 17.5. There's only about, what, 600th of a second between their lap times. That shows how incredibly close it is at the front here. Everyone very evenly matched. If they're all in their rhythm, all keeping the racing lines and pushing as hard as they can in the group, they are certainly as good as each other. Now, we've got a replay here of what happened to Tom Monhemius, I think. A bit further back at least. There's another incident that happened right further back. And that was somebody who had some damage from further back. Here we go. So this is Tom Monhemius, who was now getting down towards chicane on the opening lap. Just a simple case of, just hit the curb at the wrong point, round it went, and just about kept it off the barrier. So impressive with the car just slid to a stop. It's a quick spin turn and away he goes, but lots of work to do again to get him back towards the front. Richardson keeping a calm head at the moment, but how calm is that going to be when he starts being put under pressure by the likes of Leach, Doble and Griffiths, or will they start to fight amongst each other a little too much? A bit more respite. They did so at the start of race 1. He was able to get as far as 1.3 seconds out in front. This time, that's not quite happened. They're all calling a bit of a truce, as in not battling too hard, but they're not letting Richardson get away and get caught up with each other either. A bit further back, this is 75 that we're watching here in the battle for position. 75 is on my screen Ben Williams. He's battling with James Seal. That's over position. Or 10th, that's just outside the top 10. And Williams does get through. Inside lining towards Old Hairpin. And James neatly slots in behind the Metro MG Cup racer. CLA MX-5 racer himself. I think he was, if I remember correctly, top rookie in the Kent Bonders Mazda MX-5 Championship last year. I think he was the son of John Seal, who's of other things he's raced and done so much for is the Lamborghini, and there was a touch between them because Ben Williams has got a helping hand around the exit of Clane there from Mr. Seal. Unintentional, I'm sure, but it doesn't lie. From McGregor also making a move up the inside for position, and there is Ben Williams. The telltale sign his car is now several places behind MX5 rookie. No down penalty for Alex Corkwell. Also Thomas Potter, who's quite far back as well. He's seen 23rd place, and he was caught up in one or two mishaps in the opening couple of laps, and Ben Williams thinking, leave my rear bumper alone. I've been spun around once, I don't need it again. And here's the replay of what happened. Just as we cut away from that shot, heading in through Redgate, through McLean's on the exit, and it looked like there was some contact, but at the same time, he might have just dropped a wheel on the curb. Either way, that's the end result. Williams is around. It's really compromised his race now. I'm going to tell you that. He is again through the old hairpin. They really aren't letting Richardson get away here, are they? And they still haven't hit half distance. It's only coming up to 6 minutes in this race, 9 to go. And it is now 7 for the lead. Because Richardson has Leach, Doble, Kendall, King, Griffiths and Blackwall Chambers all snapping at his heels, staying close together. This is really typical MX5 action, both kind you get in real life, but also both Harrison Leach bumping the curb, getting sideways, and Doble goes onto the grass, and two of them are off the road. Round goes Leach, facing 180 degrees. Doble cuts across the grass, and now Leach is in the middle of the road. People are trying to scatter this way and that, and thankfully everyone's avoided him. I'll hold my breath until he gets back going again, reverses back off the circuit because he realises there are more cars coming. And that's the agonising point, trying to find a spot back on the road when there were just cars endlessly coming past you. Harrison Leach sees his good fortune go right out the window. What was battling for second place is all the way down towards possibly the bottom of the field, and out of contention for a good result. So Harrison just carried a little too much speed in towards Copper's corner. There was a little tap between himself and Doble as a result. Doble survived that and put his foot down over the grass, so he's still in the leading group. I don't think he'll get a slowdown for that. If he does, I think that's quite a harsh penalty for the system to give him. But no slowdown being told. I think that's the right thing. I think the system has realised that it wasn't intentional to cut the grass and had to do so in avoidance of another car that was having his own incident. And the big question I usually like to ask, did he jump or was he pushed? Unfortunately, he jumped and did it all by himself, and he's down to 24th position and firmly out of contention. But now, in fact, it's still 7 for the lead, but they've now got a new contender that's joined in, because taking Harrison's spot, now the purple, black and silver car of Jack Ashton, the MG Metro Cup champion from last year. He's currently in 6th place, ahead of the recovering Isaac Doble. And again, all of that has happened behind Leo Richardson, just giving him a chance to breathe a little bit, get a bit of a gap, get a few tenths. He's not really breathing, but breathing, really, I suppose, is Tom Von Hemis. He's off the road again for the second time, and another car that's off there too. I would say it's possibly Mitch Marie, or was it, no, James Roberts who's in fact had the spin. James Roberts, the BRSCC photographer. He's also a dab hand at sim racing when he wants to be. And we're going to replay that for what happens. There was a gaggle of cars battling. Roberts was involved in that, as was Ben Williams, and a couple of them, as was Hemius. There was contact, saw one into the other, and it was simply one car, I think, trying to take track position, moved across into the path of another. Roberts was the innocent party on the outside. He got caught up as a result. They both survived to live another day. Race 3 is another race. On Hemius, you could probably do with coming to the pit lane with an issue like that, and he probably does, because that was real world. He's set to get the black and orange flag for a bonnet that's not quite secured, shall we say. That ain't factory spec, that's all I'll say on that one. So, P-step towards the Super 7, battling over the lead, and that was Doble looking up the inside of Ashton for P6 in the background. Richardson taking full advantage of this lot, who temporarily had to squabble and try and sort themselves out. They have now done. And King is now leading the charge, although Chris might have something to say about that. And that's the problem with having a gaggle of cars. When you've got a lead that's trying to get out in front, and a group of cars that should be technically working together in a way to get to the leader and keep him close. There's one or two drivers that just can't help themselves to think, well, I want that place, I'm 3rd place, and I want 2nd. So, natural racer's instinct, they'll try and go for the place, and therefore start holding each other up, and the car that's in front will just take full advantage and sail off into the distance. I think thankfully they've started to work together a little more now, because it's half a second between Richardson and King, and he tries to just reel the Irishman back in. That's a red gate. And that's 2/3 distance in this race. Top 7 as they are: Richardson, King, Griffiths, Kendall, Blackwell, Chambers and Ashton and Doble. The rest of the top 10 is James Seal in 8th place on his own, about 5.3 seconds behind this leading group. Or the 2.4 ahead of the battle between Benji Douglas, Chris Etheridge, Liam Martin Bradley, and Alex. That's just those three battling over the last couple of top 10 spots. Ashton goes past Blackwall Chambers and is scrapping with him for 5th position. This is further back for Rob McGregor, who has lost 1, 2, 3, 4 positions. Down to 17th he goes because Lewis Turkington, son of 4-time British Touring Car champion Colin Turkington, it's confirmed to him, and that's going to compromise McGregor's race even further because that's Thomas Potter giving him a nerf up the inside before they get towards McLean's, and that was both Jack Sant and Harrison Leach, the recovering Harrison Leach, getting very out of shape to avoid him. All sorts going on here as Leach looks back up the inside, and again Cop is forced foul, and that round goes Jack Sant. I don't think Jack will appreciate that, but we'll leave it for the stewards' office to decide the deal is with that one. The evidence is fairly clear. Now Trapper King's been given a slowdown penalty at the front of the field, and inconveniently it's right when he's on the rear bumper of Leo Richardson, so this is not the time he wanted it to happen, obviously, but now down through the corner curves they'll come again. Trapper will have to serve that and back off, but it does mean he will lose his place in the queue. How quickly he can serve it and give back the time and keep in the contention. He moves over quickly enough to start to serve it, and I think he's still got some time to give up, but he now gives up places to Kendall, to Griffiths, to Blackwall Chambers. Ashton will come through as well, but it has now cleared itself, so he's back to racing speeds. Leans on the inside of Ashton on his door through McLean's and just about slots in neatly back into 5th position. That stack-up has now given Doble the opportunity to have a look up the inside of Black Ashton. I think there was contact. Might have been a light touch which elbowed Ashton out wide, and the two drivers now, of course, BRSCC champions from last year, both in compact race cars. Ashton the Metro and Doble in the Fiesta Juniors, now side by side, both dealing with rear-wheel drive Mazdas. Doble beats him under brakes, hops over the curb with the first part of Robert Chicane and seals the deal. He's a little sideways on the exit, gets over the grass. That now gives Ashton another chance to come back alongside him, as it's more side by side in front between Griffiths and Blackwall Chambers. He's got Kendall to give him the pushes. No, that's Kendall and Griffiths, with Blackwall Chambers giving him support behind him. Little meanwhile stands his ground on the inside, holds the run through Redgate Corner, and Ashton isn't quite done just yet. He is now, capitulates and thinks, I'm going to go side by side at that angle. It's never going to work, so he'll live to fight another day in a lap or so if he can stay close to the back of the Fiesta Junior champion. Out of the old hairpin. Back up the hill again, through Starkeys, through Schwantz, back up towards McLean's now. 2.5 minutes to go on the clock plus change. And Chambers with a slightly better time in this race so far. Two cars in front, they're battling, and they might almost looking like a collision course in front of them. How the leaders will battle through this lot is going to be intriguing. But now Richardson feeling more pressure than he has done before. Kendall right on his rear bumper again, and Griffiths is there for backup, as is Blackwall Chambers, as is the recovering Traffic King after his slowdown penalty, and they're daring to go almost 3 wide into the braking zone. Richardson, again, not interested in giving up any ounce of track space that he doesn't have to. Down the pit straight they go. They're going to have, I think, 2 more laps to go here, because they've got less than 2 minutes left on the clock. There is a battle going on ahead of 2 lapped cars in front, which they're going to try and negotiate. The Super 7 are going to have to try and pick their way through these two, whilst they are respectfully in their own battle, very, very carefully. It could be the make or break for who wins this race and who ends up on the podium. Down through the train of curves. So it's Dunningham, it's Paul Dunningham and a couple other cars in front, but we'll keep an eye on how they negotiate them. I haven't cleared them yet. They will have to in a moment's time and have to break up that battle, but the key thing is the 2 cars that are there are fighting for position and not that interested in letting the leaders through. Now they see the blue flags, now they let them through. 1 car dealt with, and they deal with the other ones. They come through McLean's once again for the penultimate time. Richardson again has led from lights to flag. So far, we've got a lap and a bit to make that happen again. Little twitch through Office, now through the right-hander and down that exhibition straight again, using a bit of a toe from the back marker, who quickly scoots out of the way. Good driving for the back marker. Well done for keeping out of the way. Now under brakes. And they've almost just about cleared them. I think the 2 cars that didn't were Doble and Ashton in the background. Another lapped car there. 1 car I think has gone off in avoidance to try and get itself out of trouble. And the pit straight. And now onto the last lap of the race. And Richardson has to do as much more defending than he has done before in towards Redgate. And Matt Kendall has his tail up. He wants this victory. Right on the rear back. He might just give him a little nudge on the exit of Redgate to help him through the corner. Let him know I'm still here. And Griffiths is also keeping his powder dry as well. It's 3 for them for the lead, back down through the trainers, like it was at the end of the first race a few moments ago. Richardson again, not interested in giving any inch or quarter to the cars behind him. Still a bit wide in the background. He's battling with Doble, but will stick with the leaders. That scrap goes on for P6. Side by side, Kendall looking to try and make an outside pass into McLean's. Can he break that a little bit later? He's going for it. Richardson again has enough momentum and the track position to hold on to it. Once again, go to the inside line. Here comes Griffiths to the outside line. Almost 3 abreast again, in towards Coppice corner. There's almost contact, and Griffiths goes up the inside because Kendall had to back out of it to avoid contact with Richardson. Now he's on the tail of the Irishman down towards the chicane. Is he going to steal the victory? He's into second, down towards Roberts for the final time. It's 5 of them for the lead. Up towards the Roberts chicane. One last time, 2 more corners. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? Into the right, into the left, but Richards defends again. Will Griffiths get the undercut? It could be a drag race here, as we see before in this series. Up to the checker flag, it's going to be close. Side by side towards the line. And who gets it at the end with his nose in front? It is Richardson again, who takes his second win of the night, but only by 81 1,000ths of a second from Tom Griffiths in second place. And then Matt Kendall, who was in second for so long in that race, just tried to move up the inside that didn't really come off. There was no room to do it. He backed out and lost momentum, and Tom Griffiths took full advantage of that, slipped up the inside, and he put the pressure on the Irishman all the way to the checkered flag. It's Richardson from Griffiths, from Kendall at the line, and then Blackwell Chambers a better finish back in 4th. Ashton was up to 5th, King is 6th and Doble 7th. And then Douglas, Seal and Etheridge round out the top 10 from Martin Bradley, Catlow, Merritt, White and the rest of the field coming through. There's a couple of drivers that are losing it on the exit at the final corner, but that's just typical eSports shenanigans. That's more intense racing and another close finish in this championship, which still shows not just how exciting it is year on year to these drivers fresh before the real season starts in April, but also as well just how close it is in this field and how well Donington lends itself to really close, exciting racing. It always tends to do so, and these first 2 races have been no exception. Hemius, I think to say his race has been eventful would be an understatement, because he's had plenty going on. And the fact there's been so much gravel being kicked up on the exit of Robert Chicane kind of tells you everything you need to know. So that was quite an intense race. So we're going to take a 5-minute breather, a little bit of a warm-up session that will go on here for a few drivers that want to use it whilst we set the grid for race number 3, which is a reversal of the top 10 finishing positions, which means that from P10 on the grid, we finish 10. We'll get the results on the screen in a second so we can actually tell you who's going to start P10. And then we'll go from there and preview that race. And here are the results, in fact. So Richardson takes his second win of the night, but only by the minus of margins of 81 thousandths of a second at the line after a last-minute drag race to the flag. Matt Kendall lost out on the final couple of the corners to pick up 3rd place. And then Will Blackwell Chambers was 4th from Jack Ashton in 5th. Trafford King in 6th and Isaac Doble in 7th place. That top 7 again covered by 1.1 seconds at the flag. Bring it on. Give us race number 3, especially with a jumbled up top 10. Reggie Douglas 8th. James Seal 9th, and Chris Etheridge, by start finishing in 10th position, will inherit pole position for race number 3. Watch through your eyes. We'll have to wait and see. Jokes aside, 11th place for Liam Martin Bradley, Alex Catlow in 12th, Thomas Merritt back in 13th, not where he would want to be, but still a good solid points finish for him. 14th for James White, 15th for Marcus Hesketh. He'll be a bit disappointed with that. A top 15 and some more points is still pretty solid, but he knows he's finished higher, so if he can capitalise on any potential mishaps in the first couple of moments of race number 3, he might try and pick his way through and get a top 10 if he can. That would be his best result to date. Thomas Potter was 16th, then Lewis Turkey to 17th, and Harrison Leach in 18th place. He was in the lead group for so long and just lost it on the exit through Coppice, spun around, he caught Isaac Doble, but Doble survived. Leach had to go through the comeback to pick up a top 20 finish. It was Alex Corkwell 19th from Andrew Payne, who picked up a top 20. Solid stuff from the Supersport. It's the City Car Cup coordinator, who got announced a few weeks ago. Arish Madhu, who had that spin at the start of race 1, finished 21st. 22nd was Jamie Peters-Ennis. Rob McGregor, James Roberts after his spin, after getting caught up in an incident. Will Dunningham, Ben Williams had an eventful race 2, as did Tom Bonhemius. And then we have Toby Campbell in 28th position, followed by Martin Corkwell, Aaron Beattie and Jack Sant in the top 31 positions, and then Mitch Marie, Aidan Ingram. Adam Lyle was in there in 33rd position as well, as was also Dan Parent-Smith, who retired from the race, as did also Max Haller at the beginning. So that's how the field will line up for race number 3, bar the top 10 being reversed. So we'll see how Chris Etheridge deals with being on pole position and how those front runners pick his through. So we can actually give you updated championships. Well, this is the championship standings coming into tonight. So a reminder of how they looked and how close it was was tied at the top of the points, coming into the start of the evening between Harrison Leach and Trafford King on 280 points each. Kendall was only a point behind on 279, and then it was Griffiths and Doble both on 276, Merritt on 274, Richardson on 273, and then it was 272 for Jack Ashton. So 8 points covering the top 8 drivers in the standings after just one round at Snetterton. The rest of the top 10 was James White and Benji Douglas. And the rest of the points orders you can see going down through there. And even then, it was James White and Benji Douglas who are tied on points for 9th. So lots of close competition. And I'm certain we'll get more of that, not just in the final race tonight, but it will continue and be the theme over the remaining 3 events of the season. Of course, to remind you when they are, as we look at the grid for race number 3, which is confirming our top 10 reset, which does indeed tell us that it is this current championship standings, but they should be updated with more points. So that's just to refer to the championship standings. The updated ones, if we have them, we'll give you on the screen very, very shortly. But just a reminder of where the rest of the eSports series is going to be happening through the next few weeks. Next round taking place in a couple of weeks' time will be on the Alton Park Island circuit on February the 5th. And we have February the 19th, which is when we have Cadwell Park. And then we have, so Cadwell Park rounds 10, 11, and 12. And then March the 5th is the final round, which is taking place on the Brands Hatch GP circuit. So still Alton Park, Cadwell, and Brands to come. Very challenging circuits in their own right when it comes to racing. Whilst we're waiting here as well, any BRSCC fans who are looking forward to racing action this year, if you're racing yourself, well, a huge bit of news to give you. If you haven't seen it already on social media or received an email or some kind of communication, or if you've been living under a rock the last few days, that registrations and race entries are now open for 2026. If you want to get yourself involved, if you are planning to race in a BRSCC Championship or Series, get yourself over to the Race Hub, racehub.brscc.co.uk. Get yourself signed up for your respective championship and series, and then just continue the prep work to get yourself ready for the first rounds, which racing will begin for your respective championship at some point in some way, shape or form in April in one of the opening meetings of the season. First round of the year is going to be in April. We usually have a March meeting, but a bit of a rejig of events has now given us an April date for the starting of the season. And more exciting racing across the board is in store with top categories that are going to be giving us lots of exciting action, as they tend to have done in the past. If you're new to BRSCC or watched some of the championships before, you'll know some of the championships which will be up and about, giving all sorts of exciting racing as they tend to do. You've got the Fiestas in all their different forms. You have the Fiesta ST240 Championship, the Fiesta ST150s, and the Fiesta Junior Championship, where you'll see a brand new crop of new young talents coming through, like some who are on the grid here for this event. Also, you've got Mazda MX-5, lots of Mazda MX-5 racing. We've got the Fun Cup Championship, we've got BMWs, we've got MGs, we've got Metro Cup in there as well. The Volkswagen Audi Racing Championship coming in as well, which is this new amalgamation of the Classic VW Cup and the Audi TT Cup as well. You've got the Production Cup, Club Sport Trophy, you've got Supersport Endurance, City Car Cup, all sorts of great championships, Superclassic Formula Fords, and also. So, that's to look forward to, but now here's confirmation of the grid for race number 3. We'll rattle through it very quickly. So Etheridge starts on pole, headed O'Seal alongside him on the front row of the grid. But it's Douglas and Doble on the row 2, from King and Ashton on row 3, Blackwell Chambers and Kendall on row 4, and then Griffiths and double winner Leah Richardson starting back in 10th. And Martin Bradley and Alex Catley will start from row 6, 11th and 12th. Merritt and White, Hesketh and Potter, Turkington and Leach back in 16th place, 18th place. Then Corkwell and Payne, Adu and Peter Ennis, Ron McGregor and James Roberts starting for 24, and the rest of the field will shuffle its way through until all 36 go through. Lights are out for race number 3, green flag in the air. Hold your breath, because this could be quite a tumultuous first corner unless they can all get through safely. Down towards Redgate they'll go then. Fingers crossed. It is Etheridge who has a clear lead down towards turn 1. Douglas going to the outside of Seal for second place. Doble already making quick moves up to get possibly into 4th or 5th. First half of the field is through with fingers crossed. Okay, they've got through just about without any dramas. 1 or 2 cars running wide towards the base of the top 10. I think Benji Douglas might have a slowdown penalty already, but he's trying to serve that now and lost out as a result. But Chris Etheridge has got the biggest lead gap of anyone between himself and Leah Richardson, because he's away and gone by almost a second in front, because Doble and I think Douglas, or no, it was James Seal, I think, ran out wide as a result. And that's kind of caused a bit of a stack up on the exit through Hollywood and the Crane Curves by the look of it, because there's a tiny gap between, I say tiny, it's 8/10 of a second between Etheridge and Doble. Then you have Trafford King in 3rd place. Seal is down to 4th from when he started on the front row. Then Ashton in 5th, Blackwell in 6th, Kendall's double winner Leah Richardson making up 2 places already up into 8th place. Harrison Leach also already has a slowdown penalty. There's a couple of cars off in the background exiting Coppice, one of which is Madhu, and the other one I can't quite tell the number, but that's the Papega liveried car in there as well, so that's gone down the order. It's Paul Dunningham, I think, so both Madhu, Dunningham or Corkwell, I think, with issues after that one. So, end of lap number 1, they come on towards Redgate for the start of lap 2. Etheridge has almost a second lead over Isaac Doble, so if he can keep this pace up, maybe he could beat someone who is potential for a victory. Out wide is Gone Traffic King, because he has a slowdown penalty. He's now keeping out of the way. Start for Liam Martin Bradley as well in the motorsport car. He's now holding what was 10th position, now down to 12th, 13th he slipped down, so a couple of issues exiting Redgate for him, it seems. I think he still hasn't got rid of his slowdown penalty, trying to. Out wide goes Seal and Ashton and Blackwall Chambers and just about everybody else through the old hairpin for the second time. And Ashton now has a good opportunity to pick himself another place. He's up the inside of Seal for third. His nose in front, and that is Seal who has to capitulate and just about tries to move him across the nose of Blackwall Chambers. He will saw him coming. Just gave him the room to slot in front. Two Clapham North cars are nose to tail. I wonder if they'll start working together to try and pick up a couple more places. On the exhibition straight for the second time. Which way is Blackwall Chambers going to go? Is he going to go inside or outside or hold back? Holding back for the time being. Over the curbs. Richardson in the background there. Benji Douglas also sailing onto the tail of the lead group. He took lots of momentum through the chicane. Down towards Redgate again. Ridge's gap is still 6/10 of a second. He's keeping it with Doble as now Blackwall Chambers launches an attack up the inside into Redgate, and that should give him fourth position. He'll get the push from his teammates, so the two Clapham North cars working together in tandem. It also gives Kendall a free pass too, so James Seal gets hoodwinked by both of the Clapham North cars in one fell swoop. He's from 4th to 6th. He's not finished though. Cut the inside of Kendall, tries to retaliate. That sort of back out has not only given Richardson the chance to go up the inside, but Douglas also almost went to the back of the Irishman. He's now going for position. We're lost of momentum here, but still is not interested in giving up all these places that easily. Cunningham's got through. Douglas is braving it around the outside. Uses all the curb on the exit. He's not careful, using too much of that. The run-off might give him a slowdown. Through Coppice again. This battling just not really helping the cars around. It's starting to make the lead group spread out a little bit here. And Kendall now, now that Blackwall Chambers and Kendall have cleared Seal, he's now with his own mire. This now gives the Clapham North pair the chance to start one chasing after Jack Ashton. They'll need to dispatch of Jack pretty quickly, because if they don't, it'll just give both Etheridge and Doble the chance to carry on battling. Although if they come together, which they might well do very soon, as this is McGregor and Jamie P. Zennis quite close with each other on the exit of the chicane. Also, Tom Monhemius is also recovering after a spin. They're all over each other with Tom Griffiths in there. It's contact between three of them. Round goes Griffiths. He does a complete 360. McGregor collapses to the side. I think that was Max Horler. I think he started toward the back of the grid. Picked his way through into 23rd. And Rod McGregor, I'm afraid, will at least have to fast tow his way back to the pits after that incident. Or simply, I think, a selection of cars just all going for the same piece of tarmac at the same time. And that's the end result. And when multiple cars try that, it's never going to end well. You can get a replay of what happened. Watching what happened here then. So this is Harrison Leach. This is down towards Redgate, and this is another incident, I think. And this is Leach involved with two more cars. Looked like it might have been Merritt and Potter, I think, looking at them. Leach getting dumped out into the gravel at Redgate Corner. Another race where his luck has taken a severe nosedive. Corkwell continued on in 28th place, but he's quite far back down the order anyway. So I think we look back to our leaders, who are now 0.3 of a second between each other. Etheridge has done well to hold on to the lead for as long as he has. He's now getting his first big test of how he defends that, because he's now got Doble and Ashton on his tail. The two Clapham North cars are trying to come back towards them. They've got a gap of 1.3 seconds to make up. They turn in through Redgate once again. The race distance gone already. More slowdown penalties coming in. One for James Seal, one for James White. Seal is trying to serve his while staying in the lead group. He's dropped to trying to hold 7th, but Benji Douglas is trying to prize it from him. So if you can try, and he's just about cleared it and will hold on to that place. Traffic King's getting stuck into that with both Douglas and Merritt. Lots of jostling going on towards, I think, the old hairpin further back. We'll focus on our race leaders, who are nose to tail to nose to tail. Into up with the circuit at McLean's. Doble, of course, using all of his experience, having raced in Fiesta Juniors, all the race trial he's been learning, and of course being part of quite a coming now well-established and well-known racing family within the UK, because he is, of course, one of the Doble family. He's got a cousin, Chris, who raced in Fiesta Juniors. He's also got his brother, Mikey Doble. Of course, we know from him for having won Ginetta GT5 Challenge and the BMW Compact Cup. And, oh yeah, he's also a British touring car driver. And, of course, Mike Doble Sr., who's done plenty of racing, particularly on short ovals in what was a version of the Euro cars. Lots of racing heritage in the Doble family. And Isaac, of course, one of the latest ones coming through, having won the Fiesta Junior title last year and races, and Chris Doble, of course, winning a couple of races too. So they're a talented bunch, the Dobles, certainly showing it both in the sim and in real world as well. Harrison Leach, I think, is a bit fired up because he's now picked his way past quite easily. That was a move on Mitch Marie, and the next guy he's going to try and pick up now is Lewis Turkington. Mitch and Lewis are teammates. You can tell the matching purple, white and almost mint green livery on those cars. And as for James Seal, his race has taken another nosedive. He's now dropped down to 12th position and recovered after what looks like either a spin, though he was helped or did it by himself. Also let through Alex Catlow by the look of it. Yeah, Alex Catlow's gone through. And also again, this is the replay of what happened. So Seal's battling away with, looks like Trafford King and Benji Douglas. And heading down through the crater curves at the top of the hill. Does he move across? Does he lose it? Or it's looked like it was half netcode and then it turned into an incident as he kind of spun around. But kudos to James for holding on to that. That was a complete 360. Didn't go spearing off onto the grass and kept it facing the right way quick enough. Won't be a consolation. Still P12 at some points, but it's got a lot of work to do. Etheridge has now basically spent the entire first half of the race leading from pole position. But now that Ashton has got past Doble, whilst we were looking at that, second place, you just get the feeling that his defensive skills are about to be severely tested for the first time. Down towards Redgate comes Mac Ashton, the Metro Cup champion, looking to the outside line. Again, Etheridge is not interested. He holds it well and doesn't give him the space he really needs. He slots back in front. Etheridge, of course, who's experienced in both C1 racing and in the Supersport Endurance Cup, is not interested in giving up a potential first win. Still says it's a case of how long will he last rather than when he'll finally give it up, if he's going to hold on for the entire race. This will help him as well because Ashton's been elbowed out wide. There was a little bit of touching between Ashton and Doble through the old hairpin as the Fiesta Junior squeezed up the inside. And now look at the gap because Richardson's split both of the Clapham North cars. He's now ahead of Blackwell Chambers and behind Kendall. This is the view Blackwell Chambers has. He's got his view completely boxed in by MX-5. He's got off to the left, he's got Ashton. He's got Kendall going up the inside of the Metro champion. Winner Richardson trying to get past both of them. He looks to the outside of Richardson. It's all happening here. Doble holding second. But through all of it, Etheridge is now back to 0.6 of a second out in front. But I've said it before. The harder this lot fight each other, the easier it is for Chris to keep building that gap and make a break out in front. They have to start working together. Try telling sim racers or racing drivers that, and they won't necessarily listen. They'll let competition go over some common sense. So that's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think. Because that's from my experience, having watched them for 15 years, plus as a commentator and fan. Down towards Redgate. We're only getting towards 2/3 distance now, with 9 and about half minutes to go. Completed, correction, on the time so far. This is the next group of cars battling. This is now Benji Douglas in the 5-car fight for 7th, also enjoying Thomas Merritt, Trafford King, James White and Liam Martin Bradley. And Merritt has 8th place. King rather wants it. Is he going to go one way or the other into the old hairpin? And the pressure on. What is good is that these younger drivers are against drivers who are, let's say, years drivers that are older than them and doing a fine job to keep holding. It goes back to something that Max Verstappen said, is that yes, karting has its properties, yes, it has its ability to teach you racecraft, but ultimately sim racing can prepare young drivers quite substantially because you get the chance to go and race particular car and circuit combinations that prepare you for what to expect. Because if you jump straight out of karting into, yes, doing some simulator work, in limited time you get behind the wheelers. Was that a lapped car or somebody that was there? There was a lapped car that was trying to keep out of the way. That was Corkwell in the Capega machine. That caught everyone off guard in that 5-car, including our producer. He was exclaiming in my ear that that was a car that just popped up from nowhere, and everyone's managed to survive that. Douglas is at the head of that 7-car group, battling over. 5-car group adding 4-8. In fact, we told me that was a miracle they all survived, and I'm inclined to agree. Right, down towards Redgate, the lead has been broken because Doble's not only got back into 2nd place, he swept around the outside of Etheridge, and thank you very much. That's into the lead goes Isaac. Can he stay there? That's the big question. Or is Etheridge going to try and fight back here? And he's not letting him go. Ashton and Kendall are also on the prowl here, as are both Richardson and Blackwell Chambers. Here's 6 of them, nose to tail, through the old hairpin. There's fantastic racing between us. It's typical MX-5 racing that you get in iRacing and indeed in real life with these cars, and indeed with BRSCC, because it's not uncommon that you'll find MX-5s in a massive pack together at the front of the field. It makes it some of the best Mazda racing in the country. There was a little wayward off the corner there, which gives Etheridge the sniff to try and get back through. Again, looking for the up and under, but taking that wider line has only given Ashton the invitation to slip up the inside, get into position, and now it puts Etheridge out to dry here. He can't go to the inside line. Ashton's done that. He'll give him the push. Etheridge gets a bit more momentum off the run down towards Robert Chicane. It could be 3 abreast almost. Etheridge tries to go back around the outside for second, holds his ground over the curve. There's a bit of contact. Around goes Ashton in front of the leading pack. More contact involved. Who else was that involved? No, I think it might have been... Who else was involved in that? Someone made contact. I couldn't quite see exactly who it was. It was one of the Clapham North cars. It was... Blackwell Chambers, I think. Yes, it was. So Blackwell Chambers has lost his front bumper. This now brings the second group in to try and get a top 5 finish. Whilst that happens, Richardson finds himself into second place, battling with Etheridge over that position. Hendel is now 4th. Let's try and piece that one together. And it was Etheridge trying to hold his ground, which he was entitled to do. That was the end result. So side by side, Noble had the lead. Etheridge tried to go for second. They just came together at the wrong point. Round it went, and then Blackwell Chambers head-on contact with the Pro Cup champion. They both carried on. Ashton, in fact, went straight to the pits. Blackwell Chambers may not have had as severe damage because he is carrying on minus the front bumper, but he has now lost, or just lost in the corner of my eye, P5 to Benji Douglas, which he has, and also he might lose 6th in the moment to Trafford King. So that looks like a wounded Clapham North car. It's going to cause problems, but he might try and soldier on to the end, because if he pits now, that will give him a terrible score and put him way down the order. So he's going to try and battle his way through. Despite not having a front end on that car, he is holding steadfast, but then again, you'd expect that from a MX-5 Super Cup Pro Class champion. He does, in fact, capitulate before the braking zone for the chicane. He realises, rather than trying to fight it too much, just get what you can and a bit of damage limitation. It's 50 second-hand, I've been told in my ear, and I couldn't disagree with that. Or, as I like to say, that car ain't showroom spec anymore. Now, back to the leaders, and that is Richardson leaning on Etheridge, who is still not interested in giving up positions that easy, and why would he? As they go through Craner curves, down through, tumble down the hill towards the old hairpin. I should mention also Marcus Hesketh, who, the only reason why he's caught my attention is because he's been given a slowdown penalty. But he's up into 14th and hasn't quite cracked the top 10 yet. But you know he's got the pace to do that, given his qualifying pace and where he was in the early stages of race 1. So he can do it. He's got a bit of bad luck going through. Richardson not only had to defend from Etheridge and almost made contact, but Richardson basically defended by attacking up the inside of Doble, charged up the inside in towards McLean's and got the move done. And with just about a lap and a bit to go, Richardson somehow, after starting from P10, finds himself, of all places, back into the lead. But will he stay there? Because Etheridge isn't done, and neither is Doble. Down towards the Robert Chicane again for the second to last time. Kendall's in there as well. It's almost 3 abreast towards the braking zone. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? It's anyone's guess. Richardson hops his way through and holds the lead, holds the pit straight for the second to last time to start the final lap of the night and of the race. White flag in the air. Here comes Doble, trying to get the side draft, putting himself alongside. 2 by 2 down towards Redgate. Look through your fingers, this could be pretty close. Kettle tries to shoot the gap. Etheridge is in there as well. 4 of them try to become 1. And it is Richardson who comes out in front. There's contact, round goes Richardson. He got tagged by Doble, I think, coming across the front of his car. Didn't look like it was on purpose. It looked like it was simply 2 cars going for the same piece of road. And that was the end result. So double winner Leah Richardson will not make it 3 in a row. Down the order, he's gone. He's on tumbling down to, 12th position. Outside of the top 10. We'll look at the replay. It genuinely did look like to me it was just 2 cars going for the same piece of road. There was no malice in it. Let's have a look at it. In my view, off the corner, we've got momentum, and yeah, it was Richardson trying to defend, and Doble got better momentum off the corner, and the contact was just the 2 cars purely coming together as far as I could see. That's my thought on that one. Now Etheridge got back to the lead, in fact. So through all of that, Etheridge might win this after all. Down the back straight for the final time. Ever so long, lost it, then got it back on the final lap of the race. Kendall might relieve Doble to 2nd place. King's up to 4th, and Benji Douglas is in P5. They're all together again. Here comes Doble back up the inside for the lead in towards the final couple of the corners. Over the case, it could be a photo finish. 3 abreast down the pit straight. It's a drag race. Etheridge, Kendall, Doble, 3 of them together down the pit straight towards the line. Who takes it at the flag? Who got it? Oh, Etheridge scored it by 0.003 of a second. Chris Etheridge from pole position to the lead for half a race, went back to as far as 3rd, and incredibly, in another photo finish, 3/1000th of a second at the line. That has to be, I'm certain, the closest finish we have ever had in BRSCC Winter Esports Series racing. Absolutely unbelievable. Chris Etheridge had led for so long. It's the great escape in the end. Matt Kendall was only 3 thousandths back. Isidore was 38 thousandths of a second back, and Traffic King ensured the top 4 were covered by less than a tenth a second. And then Benji Douglas was right behind them in P5 in just a quarter of a second back from the win. 3 wide finish on the approach to the line. We've got to see a replay of that. Let's see how it played out if we can. This is looking back at Adam Lyle, but here we go. So this is in slow motion. I think we're going to talk to our drivers in a minute, but we'll look at this in motion again. Etheridge holds it. Look, Kendall's attacking Doble, so again, has to go and attack and make the move. Up the inside he goes. They go side by side. Doble hits the curb, gets the momentum. Kendall gets the undercut on both of them. Then they make the sprint to the line, and I think Traffic King might have even given him a bit of a bump draft. Yes, he did, I think, in fact. So that gave him a little bit of extra momentum, pushed him down the straight, and Traffic King was on the grass across the line. It was practically 4 wide across the line, with one car fully on the gas, on the grass. This is absolutely extraordinary, and that is probably the best finish we've seen to a BRSCC Winter Esports race we've ever had since we first started it. 4 wide across the line. That's got shades of the Indy Lights race back in Indianapolis when they came across the line. And this time, it wasn't the guy that was 4th on the final corner that won it. It was the guy that was leading that won it this time. Absolutely.
Anyway, this is your broadcaster, Aidan Howard. I think we just might have just stopped for a brief second, so we'll quickly go over the race results as we wait for Scott, hopefully, to reconnect. But yes, well, a close race. It's a pleasure bringing all the cameras. It's not often I get to speak, and just hopefully Scott will rejoin us in a few moments' time. Your final race results: Etheridge takes the win by 0.002 of a second. Kendall, Isaac Doble, Trafford King, Benji Douglas. That's bearing in mind top 4 finishing within 0.1 of a second of each other. It's Douglas 5th, Merritt 6th, Chambers 7th, Bradley 8th, White 9th, and Alex Catlow in 10th to round up your top 10. Richardson 11th, Seal 12th, Leach 13th, Potter 14th, Marcus Hesker 15th, Marie 16th, Campbell 17th, Ben Williams down in 18th as we just tick over. There we go. Jack Ashton 19th is Tyson Monhemus 20th. Turkington 21st. Ingram 22nd. Lyle 23rd. It is then Madhu 24th. 25th. Roberts Forkwell 26th. Peter Ennis in 27th, being the first of the cars being a lap down. We'll go down to Sant Griffiths, Cackwell, BT Payne, McGregor, Waller, Donningham, and Parent Smith. Unfortunately, Parent Smith having a DNF. It's a bit of a different voice to round out your evening on BRSCC Winter Esports, and apologies for the technical issues. Have lost Scott. I'm hoping he will rejoin us, but what we will do is go to get some people into the comms booth. Let's start with Chris Etheridge. Chris, Scott has just left us. You're stuck with me, Aidan Howard, as your producer and commentator, as Scott has his brief technical issues. Chris, it's a pleasure to have you in the comms booth. Welcome.
Yeah.
How's that for you? Time.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, I think it made a massive difference to be out front for a while on my own, so just get a rhythm going. Obviously, any race with a Mazda, if you're out on front, you're going to get caught up with the tow. People are going to catch you eventually. So I knew it was going to come. So I just had to kind of just try and stick with it and try and stay out of trouble. Had a few little bumps, but it was good. Good fun.
Good stuff. Well, as a wonderful racing, as I said, literally nose to tail going across, and you're almost 4 wide with you going onto the grass as well, which was rather interesting to watch. How was that for you? Did you get a little bump at the end there just to help you get across the line?
Yeah, I could see I was losing my momentum. I didn't get a great run out of the chicane, obviously, because we were too wide. And yeah, I could see them gaining. And then I saw, I think it was Trafford right behind me. I think he was going for it as well, but he just had no space. So he gave me a bump, and that made the difference.
Good stuff. Donington is a personal favourite, I must admit. I am slightly biased. However, how was that for you? Did you enjoy Donington? It's a fantastic circuit, and it's also great for Mazdas as well. Well, it's made evident tonight. It's been some fantastic close racing.
Yeah, no, Donington is my favourite track of all time. To be honest, it's just such a nice flowing track, and always gone well there with the Citroen. So yeah, it was in real life. So it's good to get a result with the Mazda as well.
Good stuff. Any shout outs at all? Any sponsors? Anyone that's supporting you throughout this winter esports? Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to whilst we've got you in the comms booth?
Yeah, just like to say shout out to my teammates, my #blessed teammates. That's Colin and Mark. We're going to be out in the C1 again this year, so hopefully have some fun. But yeah, other than that, thanks for all the hard work from the organisers. I know it's a lot of work in their spare time, and just want to say we really appreciate it. We couldn't do it without them.
Fantastic. I will just bring Chris. Chris. I'll bring Scott back in.
Yeah,
so we have our actual commentator. I'll hand it back over to you if you want to ask any other questions, Scott.
Yeah, I got plenty, I think, because my mic connection decided to have a hissy fit when it didn't need to at the worst possible moment. So thank you for covering that one, Aidan, for doing so whilst I was resetting. But yeah, I'll not having heard what you've asked so far. So if I go over any old ground, then forgive me. But I think I'm going to run out of superlatives for that finish and for that race. And the fact that you held on for as long as you did,
yeah,
it didn't surprise in the sense that you couldn't do it. But the fact you had considering how strong the field is this season, close it's been in qualifying, and the fact you managed to hold them back for that long. Did you even surprise yourself with that? You managed to do that, or did you know you had pace in there to hold them back?
Yeah, to be honest, I know I've got pace around here. I know that. It's just I didn't have a very good qualifying, and as soon as you're in the pack, you're just fighting, and you just don't have the pace. So my main aim in race 2 was to try and get reverse pole, or at least get in the top 10 to be with a shout. So that happened, and then yeah, I knew that if I could just stay out of trouble and get a rhythm going, that I could at least be up the front somewhere.
Just that last little sequence, watching it all happen. Of course, we saw the tangle that happened between. It looks like just two cars coming together between Doble and Richardson. Clark, of course, it's not for me to call, but considering how the race had gone, when you kind of fell back as far as 3rd or 4th, then you find yourself back in the lead, about half a lap to go, knowing you've got both Doble and Kendall who are right behind you, and the pressure on. You ever ask what's going through your mind that you can say that was actually clean? Because I imagine it's quite strenuous and quite sort of not quite crumbs, but it was something a bit stronger, I thought.
Yeah, well, even when I dropped down to 3rd, you're never out of the race in this because of the toe. You can get a good run and quite easily get past 2 cars down the straight. So I was never worried. But then when I got back in the lead and I saw them battling behind, gave me a little bit of a break, sort of halfway into the last lap. I thought I just got to keep now the apexes and hopefully I'll keep it. But then Doble got a good run out onto the back straight and just put his nose into the chicane, which just kind of upset my rhythm. So it was just trying to just at least stay out of trouble there, get a good run and see what I did to the line.
And that finish, if you look back at it on the broadcast, I'm not sure if you actually realised, but we thought initially it was 3 wide, but then you had Trafford King to your outside, fully foot to the floor on the grass. So it was a 4 wide finish. Yeah. It was like 0.2 of a second covering the top 4 come across the line. I think that was genuinely the most intense, and we've had side-by-side finishes more than once in this championship before.
Yeah,
to have that was probably extreme, and winning it by 0.003 of a second. I'm certain that's the closest finish we've had in this history of this series since we started. So that in itself just shows how high quality this season is, but also as well how quality the quality driver is that race within the BRSCC championships is, because they can all jump into the same car and be that evenly matched for so long.
Yeah, it was a great race, and I thought I'd lost it. I thought I was 3rd when I crossed the line, but I think I just got a bump from Trafford right at the end, which just made the difference. So thanks for that. But yeah, no, it's super close, and it literally is down to a few tenths. Even in qualifying, that can make the difference between you being in the top 3 and the top 10, and having a completely different night.
So there was a bump draft in the end. I did wonder whether Trafford gave you a helpful nudge to keep you that 0.003 of a second in front.
Yeah, I just think he didn't have anywhere to go, to be honest. It was either that or go on the grass. So yeah, I can only thank him for that.
Yeah, and he chose violence in both. He gave you a bump draft and then went on the grass. So there it goes. Of course, going forward now to the next round, Alton Park. Obviously, it's similar qualities to Donington Park. It's fast, it's flowing, a little bit narrower. Some people call it a mini Nürburgring in some cases. It's not as open in some cases as Donington can be. As a circuit for you, is it something that you enjoy? Do you think you'll struggle there? Do you think you might have a strength there or a weakness? How do you feel about Alton in a couple of weeks' time?
I've done a lot of laps around Alton on iRacing because it's a very much a staple of the iRacing calendar if you race the Mazdas on there. So quite confident to I know the track and know what I can do around there. It's just again it's going to be down to qualifying, getting a good running qualifying, getting a good bit of space with a tow and seeing what we can do. But it could be anywhere from P1 to P15 really. So we'll have to just wait and see.
Absolutely. Well, if you can drive like that, like you did in race 3, even and hopefully without the benefit of a top 10 reversal, you might put yourself into contention as being another one of the top drivers in the field, because considering how close the qualifying was, a 10th can put you between front row or back into row 5 or 6. So imagine if you can find some more pace there and it works out for you. Hopefully we'll see you back at the front, but exceptional stuff all night, particularly in that third race, and congratulations on getting, I think is a first BRSCC eSports win for you as well, and to do it in that way was absolutely sensational. So well done, well deserved, and we'll see what you can do at Alton.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Stuff. So that is Chris Etheridge. We're going to have a chat to one of the drivers who was in the mix for that and was right on the sprint to the line. We haven't got Isaac Doble or Leah Richardson, but we have got our two from North drivers. So we'll bring in the first of which who finished in that or wide finish at the line, which is Matt Kendall. And we'll get his perspective on how that played out. He was in the mix all night and got some helping hands from his teammate Will throughout the race. And we'll see what he thought of the night, considering he was a race winner back at Snetterton. Matt, congratulations on the results tonight. I think first of all, like we've just done with Chris, we have to talk about that last lap and that 4 wide finish at the end, because you were watching it happen. Oval kind of attacked the defend from you, and then the last sequence played out in the last couple of corners, and you ended up 4 wide, which was, I imagine from your point of view, say exhilarating must be an understatement.
Yeah, it was. When you see a move into that corner that late, you know what the outcome is going to be. No one wants to lift, no one wants to go straight and get the slowdown. It's happened twice in the 2 years we've done it here, and it does make me chuckle that people still try it, because that is the only outcome you can be sure of, but it's always exciting when it happens.
Of course, you were in the mix all night, as you had been at Snetterton, and of course you're right there watching things unfold and getting the mix. You had a much cleaner night tonight. There wasn't too much you were involved in tonight. It was very much a straightforward, you head down, make moves where you needed to, and just get as many points as possible. And I think after you had a bit of a topsy-turvy third race, after 2 very strong ones at Snetterton, you kind of needed a more consistent night to get good points in all 3, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, what happened at Snetterton was unfortunate. I mean, if it was real life without the concern of iRacing contact, it would have been a non-issue. But that's just racing. I was being very brave with what I was doing there, probably a bit too brave. So yeah, I adjusted the mindset, and that was the right choice, because the number of shunts I wasn't in vastly outnumbered the number of shunts I was in. So I think that's a pretty successful effort.
Absolutely so. And we talked about this with Chris, and we'll talk about it with Will as well when we bring him in as well. And we talked about it kind of all night back at Snetterton, as we did as well, is that the standard and the quality of who we have in the field for this year's Winter Esports Series is the highest we've ever had it. And I only cemented that. I mean, if you look at the numbers, having the top 24 covered by a fraction over a second, to have so many groups of cars in a leading 6, 7, 8 car group for a lot of the race, and to have a finish like that, to have so many contenders who are in the mix for at the very least the top 5, if not a podium or the race victory, is that not only is the level of this series coming up, but also as well, when you look across the board of a lot of the drivers that are competing in the BRSCC Championships, not to use it as a promo too much, but you look at how many drivers who are in this series who you can recognise as names from BRSCC Championships. It goes to show that there is a standard that gets upheld as much as possible across the board in their championships, in terms of it does tend to, in this series and in real life, attract very good talents that when you put them all together in the same car can be just as evenly matched as each other and produce quality racing like that, whether it's real or in the sim.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, motor racing is all about money, and the amount of talent that never gets to go anywhere because of money is enormous, and you see that kind of thing here, in that these guys come along and they race right down to the wire every race very tightly. Occasionally there's a shunt, occasionally there's a bit of rubbing, occasionally it ends in tears, but for the most part, it's, I've raced some very prestigious names, but in my time, but the racing I enjoy most is here. And I know that's a very obvious chill, but it's the truth. I look forward to it every year for precisely this reason.
And it's great that you come back time to time and that you have. You're still in the Clapham North supported car, and it's still one of the front-running cars in the field, which is expected given your history of BRSCC with mainly BMWs, and of course in what you've done in this series on top of that too. What's now going to Alton Park, Island Circuit. It has similar qualities to Donington Park, but it's tighter, narrower. It should be more of a challenge than it is for many people. From memory of being at this circuit in this series, and also in real life when you've raced as a circuit, how do you rate Alton, and what are you anticipating from your race event in a couple of weeks' time when we go there to hit round 3?
Well, I love Alton, but Alton doesn't love me very much. So hopefully no netcode tyre walls. Hopefully no bowling, and we'll be good, I think.
Oh, fingers crossed. You basically gave it everything right until literally the last sprint to the line, and still got some strong results that should put you in a good step for the championship and also keep it pretty close. So well done on tonight, keeping it relatively trouble-free, and much more trouble-free than Snetterton in many cases. And we will see in a couple of weeks' time to see if you can repeat the feat or go better back to the top step at Alton. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Great stuff. So that is Matt Kendall, one half of the Clapham North drivers. We'll bring the other in to... we were going to, but he disappeared. So we will... I think we'll leave it there because we haven't got any other front-running drivers there. We have got Rob McGregor, all respect to him, but I think we're running out of time in terms of broadcast. So we will move from there and go to close on our live stream. So, thought Snetterton was action-packed. Donington just blew it out of the water, and by some margin. How about a 4-wide finish for race number 3? The guy that started on pole led for half the race, dropped back a little bit, and then found himself leading on the last lap and held on for his first BRSCC Winter eSports victory. We also saw wins 2 for Leo Richardson. He was on course to make it 3, and a small tangle, which looks like a small innocent tangle with Isaac Doble, was what changed it in the end. It has been another exceptional night of racing in the Winter Esports Series of BRSCC. And again, thank you to Apex Racing. Of course, thank you to Aidan, of course, for being our producer tonight, and for Apex Racing for being our broadcast partners once again for this series. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all the drivers, of course, who compete. Thanks to the likes of Will Blackwood Chambers and Matt Kendall and others who are also in the background running this championship. Thanks also to Charlie at BRSCC, who is also doing his part on the admin side of things at the club. And also to Clapham North, of course, for all their support of title sponsoring the series once again. Go and check out Clapham North, run by the one and only George Grant. And of course, they give modern service with traditional values. Go and check their website and their social media out. I think they've got some big plans for the season, not just in the MOT business, but also in the racing season as well. But that's firmly under wraps until ready to reveal them. So, for one final time, from myself, Scott Woodwiss, from Ian Howard and all of us at a virtual Donington Park. Thank you for watching the second event of the 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter Esports Series. Join in a couple of weeks' time at the same time in 2 weeks for the next round at Alton Park at Ireland. If it's anything like it has been the first 2 rounds, and particularly tonight, strap yourself in. We could be in for a really wild ride right to the end of the season to decide who wins the title on this occasion. But until then, stay safe, keep racing, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks in Cheshire. Bye for now.